Hi, I am Simon Blake. Welcome to Authenticity 2. Zero your unfiltered self. Let's start with authentic relationships. Over time, you have come to understand that living authentically starts from within and gradually extends outward. Now, we shift our focus to one of the most vital aspects of a fulfilling life: authentic relationships. The journey so far has been about reclaiming your inner truth, breaking free from external constraints, and learning to embrace the present moment with clarity. In this new phase, the conversation turns to how that inner work influences the connections you form with others, and how genuine relationships not only affirm your identity, but also enrich your experience of life. I recall a simple yet telling moment from my own life: a quiet afternoon spent with an old friend. We were seated in a modest, familiar space where the conversation flowed naturally without the need for pretense. In that easy exchange, it became evident that authenticity in our dialogues created an unspoken sense of trust. The conversation was not staged or forced. It simply was. That moment reminded me that when we allow ourselves to be honest, when we reveal our vulnerabilities, the resulting bond feels both natural and deeply resonant. Such experiences serve as the foundation for the kind of relationships where both parties feel truly seen and understood. Authentic relationships are not simply about pleasant interactions or easy companionship. They are built on the consistent practice of showing up as your true self, even when it might feel risky or uncomfortable. Over the past chapters, you have learned to trust your inner voice and release the expectations imposed by others. Now, that same honesty becomes the cornerstone in developing connections that reflect who you are. At the core, the authenticity you cultivate within yourself is mirrored in your relationships, encouraging you to create bonds that are unencumbered by societal masks or external pressures. In thinking about how to foster these genuine connections, it's important to address the subtle ways in which relationships can become compromised over time. By pretense or the habit of putting on a facade. Many of us have experienced the feeling of loneliness, even when surrounded by people, and emptiness. That often arises from a lack of real substance. I remember a time when I spent an evening in a lively gathering, yet felt an unmistakable distance from those around me. The feeling of being alone, in that instance, was a result of engaging in small talk rather than meaningful conversation. That night, I resolved to shift my focus, began to prioritize interactions that allowed for honest expression, where sharing vulnerabilities was met with understanding rather than judgment. It was a small decision that eventually paved the way for deeper and more fulfilling relationships. Establishing genuine connections begins with the art of listening, really listening. When you let go of the urge to immediately respond or to focus on what you want to say next, you open the door to understanding the other person on a level that goes beyond surface. Conversation. It is in these unhurried moments of attentive listening that you often find hidden insights into the shared human experience. There is a quiet satisfaction in simply being present with someone else's thoughts and feelings. Over time, this practice of genuine listening not only nourishes the bond between you and those you interact with, but also reinforces your ability to be present in every aspect of your life. Think back to the days when you noticed how authenticity in your interactions brought a sense of ease and relief. Consider the moment when you let down your guard and the conversation naturally flowed into more intimate topics. Such moments might have reminded you that relationships grounded in honesty create a daily rhythm of connection that is both reassuring and freeing. They serve as a counterbalance to the isolation that often occurs when we hide behind pretense. And they remind us that there is a deep comfort in being seen, truly seen for who we are. Equally important is the willingness to show vulnerability in your relationships. While vulnerability can be daunting, it is often the very quality that leads to the most rewarding connections. When you share your struggles, disappointments, or even the moments of self-doubt, you invite others to do the same. In doing so, you build a foundation of mutual understanding and empathy. I once had a conversation with a colleague who admitted that his professional achievements felt empty because he never allowed himself to reveal the challenges behind them. His honest admission not only humanized him in the eyes of those around him, but also created an environment in which others felt safe to share their own imperfections. That simple act of vulnerability transformed his relationships and brought him a sense of fulfillment that was absent when he tried to sustain a polished public image. Another essential element of authentic relationships is the commitment to consistency, both in what you say and how you act. Consistency is not about rigid conformity or a lack of spontaneity. Rather, it is about honoring your values in every interaction. When your actions align with your words, you create a trust that forms the bedrock of lasting connections. Consider the impact when someone who is known for their sincerity shows up to support you during a difficult time. That reliability and authenticity shine through, reinforcing a sense of safety and mutual respect. In this way, the efforts you put into nurturing your own authenticity are reciprocated in the present. Relationships you build, as you continue to deepen your understanding of authentic relationships, it may be helpful to remember that no connection is perfect, and that conflicts or misunderstandings are a natural part of any human relationship. However, how you navigate these challenges can either strengthen or weaken the bond you share with others. Resolving conflicts through honest, compassionate dialogue is a crucial skill. When disagreements arise, choosing to communicate openly rather than retreating into silence or hostility can transform a potential fracture into an opportunity for growth and renewed understanding. Reflect on a time when a disagreement could have driven you apart, but you managed to overcome it by remaining true to yourself and extending empathy. Those moments often serve as turning points, where the relationship is not only preserved, but deepened through the mutual effort to seek understanding over division. Moreover, authentic relationships thrive when you are willing to celebrate the inherent differences between individuals. Each person you encounter brings their own unique perspective, shaped by a different set of experiences and values. Embracing these differences and learning from them is part of the broader journey toward living an authentic life. It is not about agreeing on everything, but about respecting the diverse ways in which people express their truth. In this respect, authenticity becomes a shared journey. As you learn more about others, you may find that your own understanding of what it means to live truly expands as well. I recall engaging in conversations with friends who held perspectives vastly different from my projects. And through these dialogues, I not only gained new insights, but also discovered more dimensions of my personal values. The exchange of honest opinions, even when they conflict, enriches the tapestry of relationships and fosters an environment where each person is free to bring their whole self to the place. Conversation. The journey toward cultivating authentic relationships is intertwined with the convocation broader narrative of self-discovery that we have been exploring. The insights you have gathered about living truthfully and embracing the present are critical in building connections that are equally honest and fulfilling. It is important to realize that the work you have done internally sets the stage for the quality of your external relationships. When you are intentional about nurturing your authenticity, you naturally attract those who share a similar commitment to truth and meaningful connection. Hi, I am Simon Blake, was trained for years privately to be a film actor. In addition, I studied over 8,000 acting classes, which is over 25,000 hours of class time. Being day by day, hour by hour, beside the top names in the industry, both inside and outside of classes, let's learn together. In practical terms, establishing authentic relationships also involves setting healthy boundaries. These boundaries are not meant to isolate you from others, but to safeguard the space you need for self-care and honest engagement. Boundaries help ensure that your relationships remain supportive and do not devolve into enmeshment or dependence. They allow you the freedom to express yourself without the fear of being overwhelmed by external demands or compromising your integrity. Think about a time when saying no or asserting your needs led to a more respectful, balanced relationship. Those moments, often simple and unassuming, reinforce the practice of living in alignment with your truth and provide a clear structure within which authentic connections can flourish. At this point in your journey, you may have noticed that the quality of your relationships has often mirrored the quality of your pride. Inner life. When you make a concerted effort to live authentically, it invites those around you to do the same. The ripple effect of your actions, be it a genuine smile, an empathetic ear, or a thoughtful conversation, extends beyond immediate interactions and contributes to a broader sense of community. There is undeniable power in knowing that each time you choose to engage with another person from a place of honesty, you are not only reinforcing your own sense of self, but also helping others to rediscover their own authenticity. Such moments create bonds that are both meaningful and enduring. Deepening the quality of your relationships is a continuous process, one that calls for patience, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to truth. It's a journey that does not guarantee immediate resolution or perfection in every interaction, but rather one that offers constant opportunities for learning and growth. Every time a conversation turns sincere, every time you choose to express your true feelings or extend empathy instead of judgment, you add to the foundation of authentic connection that supports your personal and collective well-being. In reflecting on these ideas, it becomes clear that authentic relationships are both a mirror and a guide. They reflect back to you the essence of your own authenticity, reinforcing the values you hold dear, and they guide you through the complexities of life by providing support and understanding. Just as the process of self-discovery has been essential in shaping who you are, so too does it inform the way you connect with those around you. The quality of your relationships ultimately becomes a testament to the work you have done within, and a preview of the deeper connections that await as you continue to walk this authentic path. As you carry these insights forward, think of each relationship as a deliberate choice, a choice that, when made with awareness and care, holds the potential to transform not only your life, but the lives of those with whom you share your journey. Embrace those moments of genuine connection, and let them serve as reminders that living authentically is not a solitary endeavor, but a shared experience that enriches every aspect of your existence. With these reflections in mind, you are now prepared to move seamlessly into the next part of your journey, moving from the present exploration of authentic relationships to the ways in which your inner clarity can empower you to navigate further challenges and celebrated successes. The groundwork laid by your commitment to honesty, vulnerability, and active listening creates a strong basis for building connections that are both lasting and fulfilling. As you step into the next chapter, carry with you the understanding that the power of authenticity is amplified when it is shared, and that the relationships you nurture are a vital expression of the truth you have worked so hard to cultivate. Every genuine encounter, every moment of shared understanding, reaffirms the fact that the path to living truthfully is paved with both individual insight and collective compassion. As you continue your journey, let the lessons learned from forging authentic relationships guide you, reminding you that true fulfillment comes not only from within, but also from the bonds you build with those who honor you for who you truly are. May the practice of cultivating honest connections serve as a continual source of strength, encouragement, and inspiration as you move forward. In each conversation, every act of sincere engagement, and in the moments when small acts of kindness ripple into lasting bonds, know that you are building a life rooted in authenticity, one that reflects the true nature of your being and paves the way for a future rich with connection and genuine understanding. Chapter 1: Cultivating Genuine Connections. Imagine sitting down with a longtime friend in a quiet, comfortable space, perhaps a small, sunlit corner of a favorite cafe, where the conversation unfolds slowly, naturally, and without a script. In those moments, you notice something essential. Authentic relationships are built on a foundation of mutual trust, openness, and a willingness to share not just the successes, but also the struggles. This first part of our exploration into authentic relationships invites you to examine the underlying principles that make genuine connections possible, and to consider how these principles have shaped your own life. It is easy to let relationships feel superficial when our interactions are driven by obligation or routine. Many of us have experienced gatherings where, even though we were surrounded by people, a sense of isolation crept in because real connection was missing. I recall an evening in which I attended a family celebration. Although the room buzzed with conversations and laughter, I felt an inexplicable distance from those around me. I later realized that much of that disconnect stemmed from conversations that skipped over personal truths in favor of polite small talk. That experience taught me that authenticity does not happen by accident. It thrives when we move beyond rehearsed pleasantries and allow our true selves to be seen, imperfections and all. At its core, building authentic relationships begins with the willingness to be vulnerable, a concept that, despite its seemingly risky nature, holds immense power. Vulnerability involves letting down the facade we often put on to protect ourselves, and instead sharing our genuine experiences, thoughts, and emotions. When you choose to share your struggles or admit uncertainty, you open a door for others to do the same. This act of mutual sharing creates a space where both parties feel safe and valued, laying a foundation for a deep and lasting connection. I once spoke with a colleague who confessed that for many years he had hidden behind a mask of confidence. It wasn't until he allowed himself to share his fears about an upcoming project that Few trusted team members revealed similar concerns. That moment of shared vulnerability transformed their working relationship entirely, setting the stage for a collaborative and creative environment. In that instance, the honest acknowledgement of uncertainty was not a weakness, but an act that reinforced the strength of their bond. Another important aspect of authenticity in relationships is the art of listening. Genuine listening goes far beyond simply hearing the words the other person speaks. It involves fully engaging with their message, recognizing their feelings, and validating their experience. When you truly listen, you show that you value the other person enough to give them your undivided attention. I remember a time during a particularly stressful week when a friend called me late at night, overwhelmed by personal difficulties. Despite the hour and my own weariness, I listened intently as she poured out her heart. That simple act of being present made her feel truly understood. And later, she told me that it was one of the most comforting moments she had experienced. This anecdote illustrates that authentic relationships are nourished not just by sharing our stories, but by giving room for the stories of others to be told and heard without judgment. The willingness to share and listen also goes hand in hand with setting clear boundaries. Authentic relationships thrive when each individual respects not only the other person's needs and feelings, but also their own. Boundaries allow you to maintain a sense of self even as you become deeply connected with another. They serve as guidelines that help each person honor their well-being while still being open and available to genuine interaction. For instance, consider the simple act of communicating your need for quiet time after a long day. At work, when you express this need honestly, and when the people around you understand and respect it, you help create an environment where both connection and personal space are valued. Clear boundaries are not barriers to intimacy. Rather, they protect the relationship, ensuring that each person feels safe and cared for. There is also a dynamic interplay between authenticity and consistency. Relationships that are built on authenticity have a consistency that comes from the alignment between what is said, what is felt, and what is done. This consistency breeds trust, a vital ingredient in meaningful connections. Think back to a time when someone's reliable actions, even in small matters, affirmed for you that they were a person of genuine character. Perhaps it was a friend who regularly reached out during times of need, or a partner whose words matched their actions regardless of circumstances. These consistencies, though they might seem routine, weave together a tapestry of trust that can withstand even the inevitable challenges that come with shared life experiences. It is important to remember that building authentic relationships is not about perfection. There will be moments of conflict, times when misunderstandings arise, or periods when past hurts resurface. What matters is not the absence of these challenges, but the willingness to address them openly and compassionately. When conflicts happen, approaching them from a standpoint of shared vulnerability and genuine listening can transform disagreements into opportunities for growth. I once found myself in a heated discussion with a close friend over a misunderstanding that had escalated more than expected. Instead of allowing the situation to fester, we eventually agreed to have a candid conversations where each of us expressed our feelings without blame. In that conversations, we were able to see how our individual fears had colored our perceptions, and that open, honest dialogue was the key to clearing the air. Experiences like these remind us that authenticity in relationships involves navigating the difficult times as well as the good, always striving for understanding and connection over pride or defensiveness. A further dimension to consider is the impact of genuine relationships on your sense of self. When you engage with others authentically, you reinforce your own beliefs and values through external validation that is rooted in mutual respect rather than superficial approval. Authentic relationships serve as mirrors reflecting back the qualities you may sometimes overlook in yourself. In one instance, after sharing a personal setback with a tightly knit group of friends, I was struck by the encouragement and shared experiences that followed. Their responses reminded me of inner strengths I had underestimated, and that not only did they see the real me, but they also valued that version of myself. Such interactions have a profound impact on self-esteem and reinforce the idea that living truthfully creates a feedback loop, where authentic expression leads to genuine connection and in turn to increased self-assurance. Moreover, authentic relationships are not confined to close bonds alone. They extend to every type of interaction. Whether it's a brief exchange with a neighbor or more involved conversations with a coworker, every encounter holds the potential to be authentic if approached with the right mindset. Even small gestures, such as a genuine compliment given without expectation, can transform an ordinary conversation into something meaningful. These everyday interactions, often overlooked, are the building blocks of a more compassionate and interconnected community. They remind you that authenticity is not reserved for significant, life-changing events, but is equally present in everyday acts of kindness and understanding. As you reflect on your own relationships, consider how the practice of authenticity has played out in your life. Ask yourself, when have I felt most connected to others? What circumstances allowed that connection to flourish? Perhaps it was a time when I shared a piece of my story that I had long kept hidden, only to find that the act of sharing opened the door to deeper mutual understanding. Or maybe it was during a quiet moment of support, when this simple act of being present bridged the gap between isolation and belonging. These recollections are not just memories. They are signposts that guide you toward the types of relationships worth cultivating. They confirm that true connection comes from the courage to be vulnerable, to listen deeply, and to honor both your needs and those of others. In analyzing the interplay between individual authenticity and shared connection, consider how your evolving understanding of self has influenced your creating external interactions. With each step you take toward embracing your true self, you create space for relationships that are enriched by transparency and empathy. There is a profound shift when you allow yourself to be seen fully, and in doing so, invite others to do the same. The resulting connections are marked not by fleeting conversations, but by enduring bonds that weather life's ups and downs. Reflect on a time when a friend's willingness to share his personal struggles, without embellishment or pretense, allowed you to offer support in a way that was both meaningful and lasting. That moment was a testament to the mutual benefits of authenticity. It reminds you that by forging honest connections, you not only invite others into your world, but also expand your understanding of what it means to live a connected life. In our modern world, where reinforcing images and curated social interactions can sometimes mask the truth of who we are, the pursuit of authenticity in relationships becomes even more essential. It is tempting to settle for interactions that are polished, and predictable, yet often superficial. True authenticity requires the courage to step away from that mold, to engage in conversations that might be challenging, and to embrace moments of silence where unspoken understanding takes form. These are the moments that define the quality of our connections.